Howdy, everybody. Reverend Colonel here. I haven't been on here in a while. Just been busy, like a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory. But anyway, some of y'all are longing to hear what the latest update is. Some of y'all already know. And I just want to thank everybody for their prayers and everything, and give you the latest update on my wife. Those of you that haven't seen and maybe haven't followed, my wife, several weeks ago, actually over a month ago, contracted COVID along with me and my son. My other son and daughter did not get it at all. They tested negative. One son got the same shot as us. My daughter got the Pfizer because she was too young for the Moderna. And the rest of us got the Moderna. My son was sick for about a week or two, maybe week and a half, something like that. And he got over it pretty good. But my wife, she steadily got worse, and kind of looked like it was doing okay, and then it went bad. And basically what happened is she was doing really bad, so we went and we got her the antibodies, and they gave her the antibody IV, and she did that, and the rest of the day she seemed about the same. That evening she slept like a baby, and so I let her sleep in because she was not coughing or anything, and she was sleeping so good. I thought, the antibodies, they're working, yeah. And so then I went in there about 11 o'clock in the morning, and she was white as a sheet. And I checked her O2 level because we have that kind of equipment here because my wife was an RN. And checked her O2 level, and it was 54. Now, for those of you that don't know, we are normally supposed to be in the high 90s, best if you're like around 98, 99. That's perfect, but if you're 95 or so, that's good. Anything below 70 is absolute danger. You need to go to the hospital. Your brain is shutting down functions. It's shutting down various different organs and stuff so that it can survive on the blood supply because there's not enough oxygen in the blood. And so I woke her up, and she's like, I'm okay, just let me get my coffee and wake up. So I let her do that for a few minutes and checked her again, and she was in the low 60s, and I was like, no, we got to call 911, and she was not happy about it. 911 came. Make long story short, they said that she needed to go, and she didn't want to, and I pulled the trigger and said, no, baby, you're going. You've got to go. And so they took her off to the hospital. I followed. I waited in the waiting room. They're like, sir, what are you doing here? You can't wait here. You can't go in. So here I go. I don't see my wife for several days. She's in the hospital. She's gratefully ill. They're trying to keep oxygen in her, and she can't keep her mask on because she's in a state of delirium. And her body is going through, it's called a sciatic storm, which means that her body has gotten so weak on immune systems and everything that it is now attacking everything, which means that it's attacking itself. And so she was getting worse and worse by the minute. They couldn't keep the O2 on her because she was just not keeping it. And so they made the decision that they had to intubate her. And so they intubated her and put her in a coma. And she was in that coma for about a week. The first couple days I couldn't go, and then they finally let me go visit. And so I visited her while she was in the coma. And I would spend time talking to her and singing to her and praying over her and all this kind of stuff. And during this time, she apparently had some very lucid dreams, and most of them were nightmarish. And when they finally took her out of the coma, she's like reliving all these dreams, and we think she's just, gone bonkers. She is like dealing with someone that's got sundowners, if you know what that is. And just imagining that all these things are happening and taking place, but really what she was doing was reliving those dreams because they were reality to her. Now, for those of you who don't believe anybody hears anything during comas, let me set you straight on that because she is having memories. She has memories of smelling me and feeling my beard up against her and my hair. I guess it's part of why God had me grow it long for Nazarite vow. Maybe he was thinking of that moment. But anyway, that comforted her and made her feel good. She could hear my voice and when I would sing to her and stuff like that. But when I was not there, that's when the nightmares began and happened. And they would only allow me to be there 30 minutes a day. I pushed that barrier and stayed there for 2 or 3 hours each go. And they were pretty nice about letting me do that. But anyway, finally they get her out of that, and she's like, we don't know. I don't know if she's going to get her cognitivity back. We don't know how she's going to do. She's still on oxygen. They finally take the NG tube out, and she doesn't need the feeding tube. She can barely eat anything or drink anything. And so then they put her in rehab. And she did not like being there, but she was like, I'm going to fight this. And I guess all of our prayers for healing and stuff put the spirit of fight in her. And after just 2-3 days, she was like, I want out of here. They didn't want to let her go, but she exceeded all their tests, worked really hard. I mean, she busted her butt. And her cognitivity was coming back and she was getting more rational. And so after about 3 days, maybe 4, we got her out of the rehab, brought her home, and she is now home. She still has oxygen. She's only on 1.5 liters right now. They had her on up to like 12 or 15 when they first put her in the hospital, so that's the drastic difference. At first she was having trouble moving. She couldn't get up, she couldn't get off the floor, different things like that, but she has got that spirit of fight because of all the prayers that everybody's been doing. And God's healing her, and he's healing her from the inside out. And so she's really pushed and she's walking around. She's doing well. She still needs the oxygen though. It started off that she was on 2 liters when she came home. She's 1.5 now. And, we don't want to wean that too quickly because her O2 does drop when she's off the oxygen. And we have to get her to a point where it doesn't drop below like 95 or something like that. So we're working on that, trying to get that going good. So, this is another one of the things that you're not hearing about on the news or anywhere else is these parts of the reality of what COVID does. And this is just one story. There's other stories out there too. There's similar stories. Some of these people have had to go on dialysis and things like that afterwards. She's scared to death. Things like that could happen to her. But I'm praying to pray the spirit of fear out of her. And, there's just so many things. People think, oh, it's just like the flu. You just get sick. You get real bad sick maybe, but then you get over it and you're all right. And everything's normal, but that's not the case, and especially if you end up being intubated, which is a lot of patients that go in there. And even the ones that don't end up with long-term conditions and stuff. And you hear a little bit about some of this, but you don't hear about a lot of it. And, this COVID, it's not over. We probably caught the Delta variant because we were vaccinated before that variant. And, There could be another variant come out. We don't know, especially with so many people not wearing masks and not getting vaccinated. Restaurants and stuff are full capacity now, and I'm amazed because it really has not stopped, and the hospitals are still very full. And I can witness this because I was there. I saw how full the hospitals were and how busy they were and how many COVID patients that there were in ICU, and even in the ICU step down. That was the majority of the patients there, way majority of the patients there. And so it's bad. It is. And if you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated. I mean, if she hadn't have got vaccinated, it probably would have killed her, It would have killed her before I got the chance to find out that her O2 was 54, and and the rest of us, we didn't get it that bad. I was asymptomatic. I was out mowing the lawn the next day. But that's just one story. And yes, there are stories like that, and lots of them. But the truth of the matter is, most people get pretty darn sick, and a whole lot of people end up getting ventilated. And it's bad. It is. You need to wear your mask still. I wear my mask when I go out in public. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to wear my mask because I see it as my civil duty to try to get this thing over with. And, it's like my doctor said, it's not a matter of if you'll get COVID, it's when you'll get COVID. Because eventually one of the variants is going to get you. It is, and unless we come up with a vaccine or some kind of thing that just totally eradicates it, and everybody gets that vaccine, then that's the way it's going to be. And it's going to be this way probably for the next couple years or more, You look at some of these other diseases that went semi-unchecked or totally unchecked, and how many years they lasted. Now then, we were able to annihilate polio and stuff like that in a few years, and that was with everybody getting vaccinated. So imagine if a lot of people didn't get vaccinated for that one. But I remember the day. It was our civil duty. People would line up to get the polio vaccine and to get other vaccines, swine flu, things like that. I remember in my childhood, nobody said, well, I've got my freedom to not do that, We didn't see it that way. We saw it that our freedom that we have meant that we took care of our fellow man, our fellow American, our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. And so we went and we got those vaccines, and we did the precautions, and we were careful about things. And that's how we got past and got through those things. So do your part, be a real patriot, A real patriot looks out for their fellow American, and that's how you can do it. Wear your mask, get vaccinated. Be cautious. Don't go in large groups of people. Restaurants, man. It can wait. I mean, right now, full capacity, and everybody takes their mask off because you got to, because you can't eat through a mask. So, anyway, that's what I got to say about that. I've been reading along in my word, reading in Ezekiel right now, just learning a whole lot more about Israel and the other nations and their sins against God and how God's dealing with them. And thank God that we have a Lord and Savior who loves us and cares about us. And if you know Him, you don't have to worry about the wrath of God at all. You have no issue with that. God is your buddy. He's your friend. He walks with you. He talks with you. And He does that through you reading your word. So read your word every day. stay in prayer every day. Continue to pray for my wife. We're not out of the woods yet. We still got a long haul to go, and it's been very difficult. I have worked, but I have not been able to work as much. She has home health care coming now, so that's good. That's going to help a whole lot. And so, anyway, be safe out there. I love everybody, and this is the way. Reverend Colonel signing out.